You want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You can't handle the truth!
Well, we're giving you the Michigan Sports Truth, the show that is honest, reveals the facts, truth, and statistics, and does not mess around. Follow me, Taylor Phillips, on Twitter at DT2Phillips. Email me at TaylorGatorPhillips14@yahoo.com. Follow Ed Smith on Twitter at EdSmith313, and go to our website at MichiganSportsTruth.com. Also like our Facebook page, The Michigan Sports Truth on Spreaker, and join our group with the exact same name. The Michigan Sports Truth podcast is also available on iHeartRadio and SoundCloud. Also a subsidiary of Sports Radio Detroit, thus available on iTunes and Podbean. The views expressed by the host of this podcast are not opinion-based or for entertainment purposes. They are actually facts and truth, no matter if other people like it or not. It is the Michigan Sports Truth, and nothing can ever stop it from being correct.
Hey there, Michigan sports fanatics, and welcome to episode 236 of the Michigan Sports Truth on Spreaker, another installment of the Football in the Mitten preview. I'm Taylor Phillips with my co-host Ed Smith. And Ed, it's that time again. This year, it's that time of year. Michigan and Michigan State, they clash, and Michigan has got some revenge to capture.
Yep, Taylor, first of all, good morning to you, by the way, and good morning to all the listeners who might be hearing this right now or whenever you're hearing it. Hello. It's definitely that time of the year. It's been a long while since I've had to do something of this caliber in terms of breaking down matchups when the game involves both teams. So there's a lot of things to delve into, but it is great to finally see, the rivalry is back here. Once again, it's been a long year waiting for both teams for a multitude of reasons. I can't wait to get started.
Yeah, plus we got other college football in the Mitten, and We got Lions and Texans to preview as well, but first, why not kick it off with the in-state rivalry matchup?
Touchdown, Michigan!
Touchdown, MSU!
Now, before we preview today's matchup this year's matchup, I want to play a little clip with you calling into the Valenti and Foster show with Valenti and Rieger on 97.1 The Ticket. And
Yes.
You actually unleashed.
Yeah, unleashed is a very, very, very understatement.
Mm-hmm. So, this is my co-host, Ed Smith, calling in. Roll that footage.
Let's get some of the phone calls in the mix and see if Wojo shows up for work. We go to E on a cell. He's up next. What's going on, E?
All right, what's going on, guys? It's been about an hour and a half away from me, but I've used that chance, using that time to let all the memories of MSU pounding my beloved Wolverines to the dirt. I've allowed it all to wash over me and simmer and stew and settle into a boil that I'm just ready to unleash now. Because I, as a Michigan fan, for the past 8 years, have gone through nothing but misery, nothing but humiliation, basically the equivalent of sitting in the classroom corner on the stool, wearing the dunce cap, whereas the sniveling, snickering Sparty fans are pointing a finger at me and laughing. Just yucking it up. So here's what I want. I would be pissed off if the ass-kicking that I want does not transpire. I want Harbaugh to be a red ass on Saturday. I want pain, I want suffering, I want dismantling, dismemberment, and maybe disemboweling if need be. I want torture if necessary. I want this to be a bigger blowout than what Clinton's going to do to Trump in 2 weeks. I need this. I need catharsis, I need annihilation, and I need Michigan to do what Lennox Lewis did to Mike Tyson in 2002 by knocking out Michigan State University and banishing them from the upper stratosphere of the Big Ten division, at least for this season.
I love it. Ed, I think you're spot on. You deserve
By the way, quick question.
Yes.
Shout out to Taylor Phillips, Michigan Sports Truth. Hit him with a high.
Okay.
Man, oh man. First the bombing of Michigan State, and now you give me a shout out. Thank you very much. And they hit him with a hind drop.
Yeah. Basically, it's called essentially I performed triple play all in one. Also, in the sense of me being a big time wrestling fan, I essentially let out my inner Hulk Hogan, my inner The Rock, or my inner Stone Cold Steve Austin, whichever way you want to look at it. But some of it kind of spoke true to what I have been really been feeling. Because this past 8 years, it's been a bit of a nightmare for a Michigan fan like me. So this was a chance to let off some very needed steam, a chance to finally vent. And I did it. Took my chance, and I took advantage of it.
Oh, yeah. And I wonder if 97 Won the Ticket could hire us one day.
Wishful thinking.
Yep. You never know what to expect in the near future of life. But let's get back to the matchup itself. The Wolverines, they're ranked 2 in the nation in the AP poll, 7-0 and 4-0 in the Big Ten, whereas the Spartans are sliding 2-5 and 0-4 in the Big Ten. That kicks off at noon on ESPN. Of course, Michigan's going to rout Michigan State. 96%, according to ESPN, predicts Michigan to win, whether it be a rout or a close one. But it's going to be a rout nonetheless.
It is looking quite likely, especially looking at how both teams have performed as the season has worn on and on. You know, how Michigan seems to improve week by week, and week by week, Michigan State continues to actually fall to a complete tailspin, to make have a disastrous game after disastrous game after disastrous game. It's getting quite numb to actually say that, but it's the unfortunate truth regarding the Spartans.
Yeah, we get the matchups here. Wilton Spate versus Tyler O'Connor. Looks like ESPN is projecting the starters already, because Tyler O'Connor has the best numbers at quarterback than Brian Lewerke and Damian Terry and R.J. Shelton combined. So the Spartans, in a rivalry game, have to give it their all, try to play spoiler here, whereas Michigan just has to keep on rolling and don't sit back.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to in a sense, and we'll get more to that in terms of breaking down the keys, what each team needs to do to improve their chances of winning on Saturday. But in terms of player by player, matchup by matchup, spot by spot, position by position, it doesn't seem to matter who Michigan State would throw out there at the QB spot. Could be, O'Connor, could be Lewerke, could be Damian Terry. It's not really. Probably doesn't matter as much because, you have an interchanging offensive line that, until recently, I guess you could say, if you want to count the Maryland game as not a good, I guess would say still not as good in terms of pass protection. Probably had a little bit of a breakthrough in terms of running game or setting up run blocks. L.J. Scott, as well as a couple of the backs, had a seemingly first good game in I don't know how many weeks last week. But it's a whole different order going from Maryland to this defense, this Michigan Wolverines defense. In terms of, between matchup to matchup, there are some numbers I want to throw at you right here. It was screenshotted on Twitter by the Twitter profile at SportsCenterUM, which is, I guess, a minor, not an official, but somewhat, pro-affiliation for the Wolverine sports and all that. But essentially, it's a screenshot of 2 tweets from Juicy Hallett. Juicy Hallett, by the way, who does cover for Maize and Brew. the SB Nation affiliate for Michigan Athletics. So these were the two tweets that he had posted that were screenshotted. One of them breaks down Michigan's offense against MSU's defense, and then the second one vice versa. So the first one, Michigan's offense versus Michigan's defense, using the ratings that was garnered by the web by S&P Plus on FootballOutsiders.com. Overall, head-to-head, 19 versus 74. Michigan is 19th ranked nationally. MSU's defense ranked 74th. Rushing offense, Michigan's ranked 21st. MSU ranked 80th. Passing offense, Michigan is ranked 14th. MSU's defense, 113th. Very, very, very scary numbers for their secondary and their pass defense overall. In terms of standard downs, Michigan, all over downs that are not passing downs, Michigan's offense is ranked 11th, going up against the MSU's defense that's ranked 89th. And finally, in terms of passing downs, again, another bad harbinger and indicator of how much it could be a potential mismatch. Michigan's passing offense ranked 32nd overall, whereas MSU's passing defense, again, according to S&P Plus, ranked 103rd. And then, conversely, if you flip it over, how Michigan's offense ranks up against MSU's defense, well, I'll keep it short and simple. Michigan State, overall, their offense is ranked 83rd, rushing offense 71st, passing offense 42nd, standard downs 28th, and passing downs ranked 90th. That's according to S&P Plus. Whereas, when you break down those same stats regarding Michigan's defense, overall, rushing, passing, standard downs, and passing downs, it's just one singular number, the number 1. That is a very, very good and scary indicator to how good, dangerous, and just flat out talented this Michigan defense has become and is currently as the season's progressed. Another stat, another screen cap tweet, which seems to indicate some ESPN, info that was put forth by ESPN. Again, further proves the dominance of Michigan's defense because, whether it be points per game, i.e. points allowed per game, that's 10, yards given up per game, 207, third down conversion percentage given up at 13, yards per play given up just under 4, touchdowns allowed total 8, average drive distance, that means how far teams even go before they even pump the ball, their drive ends, 16 yards, points per drive, as in an average of how many points you even give up per drive throughout the whole entire game, under 1 by at a 0.7, a percentage of plays where the opposing offense either gets 0 or negative yards, which is 47%, so nearly half of defensive snaps results in the offense either getting nothing or going backwards. Again, all these rankings have Michigan's defense ranked as number 1 overall in the entire country. So to say that there is a steep mountain decline for Michigan State's offense alone, it's one thing. It's a whole nother once you look at these rankings, look at these stats, look at these numbers, and see, my goodness, there's a good reason why, even though it's on the road, even though it's the rivalry game, Michigan, as of this moment, is a curly, heavy 3-touchdown favorite. And it could be 4 by the time kickoff rolls around.
Yeah, very interesting stats. Now, the keys to the game. For Michigan, they can't turn the ball over. They must have no complacency, and they must show no mercy. No mercy for this all of a sudden depleted Spartan team. And speaking of the Spartans, they have to force pressure on defense, and desperate times call for desperate measures, and make your own luck. So your turn to explain them.
Well, for Michigan, I'll start with Michigan. When I say no turnovers, it's quite obvious. For a team that's this heavily favored, you still have to remember you are on the road, so you can't afford to give the whole team any momentum whatsoever. That includes, of course, protecting the football. And if you're Michigan, you should all know very well. Again, I don't know how many times they replayed the fumbled snap last year from Blake O'Neal that led to the game-winning touchdown for MSU. So say no turnovers are a priority, it is very, very much so a priority here, especially when you recognize, in some of your recent games, whether it be against Illinois or last week against Maryland, or even in the game early on, especially early on against Colorado, they were put in bad spots, primarily in the Colorado game also, because of the fact that they caught the ball up, so early turnovers, can always give an underdog home team momentum. So it is very essential for Michigan. They got to take care of the ball almost under any circumstances. If there's one late in the game where maybe the score's far to reach by, but in terms of early on setting the tone, you don't want to give Michigan State life before you to begin with, so they can try to find a way to capitalize it. So taking care of the ball is one priority. A second key is no complacency. Again, I refer back to the muff snap last year. Nothing is certain. Nothing is certain. You cannot be complacent almost every turn. I don't care if it's 28-0 at the end of the first quarter. You play virtually all, give your all 100% on every down almost if you need to make sure that there's no room for error against this team in this type of situation, because, in some instances the pressure is on Michigan because they are the number 2 ranked team in the country. MSU, really, they have nothing to lose here. So for Michigan, in terms of keeping that focus, which I do expect them to do, because Jim Harbaugh, again, the way he's coached this team, and you read some of the players talk about how they feel about this game, whether it be Jordan Lewis, whether it be Devion Smith, among others, they are focused on this game. They're not going to let this slip by their fingers like it did last year. And number 3, it's simple. No mercy means it's revenge time. It is revenge time. As I explained more blissfully in a more blistering manner in my promo that I did in calling the 97-1, this is revenge. Even though, you had the win in 2012, let's be honest, that was you barely managed to get a few, you scored no touchdowns against a struggling MSU team that wasn't at their best. This was when they had Patrick Maxwell as quarterback, and you only mustered up 12 points, and you barely eked out a win. So, in this game, knowing the history, knowing what was essentially taking place in this rivalry the past 8 years or so, it's more than beyond payback time. It is just a roaring rampage of revenge time. So, Sam Webb posted an article on Scout.com, quoting, asking Jordan Lewis, having Jordan Lewis state, rather, that the word mercy is not in Jim Harbaugh's vocabulary. So you look at it one or two ways. Either, he takes his opponent very seriously, to where, nothing is left up for grabs. He's learned his lesson last year. Or B, he's going to let his own ultimate red ass show out in this game, and he's going to run up the freaking score. Now, for MSU, he is simple. You got to force pressure. You got to put Wilton Spade in bad spots to where maybe he can call the ball, force a muff snap, a fumble, probably puts him in pressure where he forces the ball and at least an interception. You need to find something, because you need turnovers to give yourself a chance in this game. And what I mean by desperate times, desperate measures, hey, this is your season right here. Because if you lose this game, which a lot of people think it is going to happen, you'll be at 6 losses, and then you still got Ohio State to play, and Penn State for that matter. So there's a good chance you could end the season with at least 8 losses, if 7 or 8 losses, if not more. So if you want to give yourself some semblance of hope that, hey, you can get to a bowl game, what better way to do it than to pull out all the stops in this one? And desperate times, desperate measures. It could be, for D'Antonio, time going to the old bag of tricks, all types of trick plays, special teams on punts, field goals, fake punts, reversals, all that sort of type of thing. That's worked for you in the past. We might have to look at it and look into that here, because it seems to be the only type of reason that could give you some type of help. If you have this focus, try to catch this focused Michigan defense off its hose, and out of focus for just a split second. And a trick play or two could help with that. And in terms of 3, make your own luck. Again, do I need to remind you all what last year represents for MSU in terms of making your own luck? Okay. And whether it be making your own luck, it also comes down to certain players, they need to have as probably the biggest games of their lives. Forget about the quarterback, look at your running back situation, whether it be Gerald Holmes or even the parent rejuvenated L.J. Scott, whether it be your slot receiver, R.J. Shelton, because I think he's going to get a lot of targets at this game, because between Jordan Lewis and Jennings Stribling, I do not expect, that many footballs to be thrown their side. So I expect R.J. Shelton to get a lot of targets, so he's got to make as many, make the most out of it. It's going to be hard to do against a defense like this because, unlike Michigan State's defense, they know how to tackle, they know how to prevent open field miscalls or whatever, miscommunications. They know how to swap on a player in the open field, prevent him from getting loose and creating a big chunk play. So, again, tough task, tall order, but it is possible for Michigan State to find some sort of momentum within this game to give them a fighting chance, as much of a long shot as that may be.
Now for the prediction. I think Michigan is looking for revenge, but it's a rivalry game. If you put them together, I'm gonna predict Michigan 38, Michigan State 10.
That seems to be the more merciful score from you, Taylor. But I'm going to be a full blown mark, full blown blue belly, and just obviously there is brain here being used in this pick, but I'm going based on heart and emotion. I think Michigan, they're gonna basically do what that secret train formation is that they've run in past few weeks. They're gonna run one all on and through and over Michigan State. So my score is, Michigan 56, Michigan State 0. And I wouldn't be surprised if I see a score similar to that. So that's my official prediction to how I think this game could go.
All right. I think that's spot on.
Every touchdown to represent the 8 years of misery I've gone through. So, yes.
Yep. All right. Well, that was pretty fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a while. Like I said, it's been a while since we had to do the keys to the game for both teams in the same game. So, very nice to always go towards that.
Yep. But it is time to move on to my Chippewas here.
Touchdown, Central Michigan!
They return home to Kelly Short Stadium in Mount Pleasant at Central Michigan University. They kick off Saturday at noon on the CBS Sports Network. They are playing the 2-6 Kent State Golden Flashes. Now, I'm not going to let Kent State's bad record fool me, because I got some analysis on their quarterback Nick Holley. He can play quarterback and run the ball. He's almost an all-purpose offensive player, except he's never played in the receiving department before. He's racked up the passing yards. He's also racked up a lot of rushing yards. As ESPN.com statistics show you, he's a monster on the loose out there. The Chippewas' defensive front has to penetrate the Golden Flashes' offensive line to try to get to him. They got to at least bring more pressure. I want them to devour him. I want them to annihilate him like an army, like an army of tanks. Just obliterates this Godzilla monster. And Nick Holley may be a very, very good quarterback, not only in the passing game, but the rushing game as well. But in the end, there's no I in team. So that's one of my keys to the game. Bring pressure and devour Nick Holley. Also, quarterback Cooper Rush needs to put a 0 in the interception column. And their running game, especially Jare Hayes, That needs to be cleaned up. Also, their kicking game has improved. Brian Eby, 2 for 2, or 1 for 1. Brian Eby just needs to keep it going and not miss any more field goals. I mean, nobody's perfect, but Brian Eby hasn't done well this season. He hit his last field goal, but it's still, you got to prove more. You got to keep going, Brian Eby. So my prediction, if the Chippewas do what my keys to the game tell them to do, they're going to beat the Kent State Golden Flashes 35-21. It's not going to be a rout. It's going to be a bit closer.
I think it's along that same range. Central's defense has had some issues in certain games this year, so I wouldn't be surprised if Kent puts up at least 21. So I'm going to go similar score, but a different approach. I would say Central Michigan 31, Kent State 21.
All right. Again, Saturday at noon on CBS Sports Network. I'm going to try to DVR both the Michigan and Michigan State game and the Kent State at CMU game. The 20th ranked Western Michigan Broncos, 8-0 and 4-0 in the MAC. They go on the road and play the Ball State Cardinals in Muncie, Indiana. The Cardinals are 4-4 and 1-3 in the MAC. That kicks off Tuesday at 8 on ESPN. Going to look at Riley Neal a little bit. He has racked up 1,700 passing yards to be exact. Speaking of which, just hasn't racked up the rushing yards like Nick Holley did. But he is all. But on the negative side, he's also thrown 9 interceptions, which can be detrimental to Ball State's 4-4 record. And James Gilbert has been given a lot of rushing time and has racked up the carries and the yards, 13 away from 1,000 thus far this season. But the Cardinals' defense has a lot of holes in themselves, and the Broncos' offense, their overpowerful offense, I may add, will take advantage without wasting a second. Just like they showed in a no mercy contest against my Chippewas and other opponents. So without the shadow of a doubt, I'm predicting the Broncos to win 45-17 in Muncie.
Yeah, another easy opponent, another easy win as they continue their march to a possible, Power 5 ball game in a New Year's Six matchup. You still need some help from other teams ahead of them to lose. I still expect them to keep the continue the momentum. Look for them to roll the boat against Ball State. So I say Western 45, Ball State 7.
No doubt about that. And then the Eastern Michigan Eagles playing host to the 2-6 and 2-2 in the MAC Miami, Ohio Redhawks. Miami, Ohio Redhawks. That kicks off at 3:30. It's not televised, except it's on ESPN3. Got an interesting quarterback matchup. Billy Ball of the Redhawks has more passing yards, 1,154, than Todd Porter of the Eagles, 1,064. I think it's going to come down to that. But in the end, I still think the Eagles are going to come on top, except in a very close game, 31-27.
I'm actually thinking it'll be a little bit more of a comfortable victory. So I say Eastern 28, Miami of Ohio 14.
All right. So,
home crowd helps the Eagles.
Yep, that's true. So with that, all the college football material is covered, so we're going to go to the pro football side of things.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
The Lions go on the road after a 3-for-3 homestand. They go to Reliance Stadium and kick off with the Houston Texans, who are also 4-3. Sunday at 1 on Fox. First off the injury report, 5 Lions players questionable. Those are offensive tackles Corey Robinson and Riley Reif, cornerbacks Darius Slay and Nevin Lawson, and defensive tackle Haloti Ngata. And of course, DeAndre Levy, their linebacker, is still out. For the Texans, one player on injured reserve, offensive tackle Derek Newton. Questionable running backs Jonathan Grimes, formerly with the Miami Dolphins, I believe. But anyway, Jonathan Grimes and Lamar Miller, the running backs for the Texans. And linebackers Jadeveon Clowney and Brian Peters, and safeties Quentin Demps and Corey Moore. That's quite a few players.
Yeah, it is. And it should be of note, by the way, in terms of the Lions, certain players were able to get some practice time this week. Haloti Ngata, Eric Ebron, and Dwayne Washington, as well as Gil Riddick, had either, some form of practice where it be limited on certain days for the case of Riddick, Ngata, or Ebron, or for Washington, who completed in full practice both Wednesday and Thursday. At the very least, Wednesday, Thursday, at the very least, Washington played in full practice, so I definitely expect at least a couple of those players. It was reported by ESPN that Ebron should play, barring a massive setback, and of course, seeing that Dwayne Washington played in full practice both Wednesday and Thursday, unless something drastic happens, expect him to suit up as well. And if the Lions just so happen to get Theo Riddick back and or Haloti Ngata, again, another good key for them, a plus in their column, I would think.
Now, the starting quarterback for the Houston Texans is Brock Osweiler. Osweiler has significant numbers, but he can be stopped by the Lions' defensive front.
You would think, but then again, this is the same defense that gave up 20 straight completions to Case Keenum, and allowed the likes of Brian Hoyer to pick them apart like it was nothing. So,
especially the secondary.
We better hope that defensive line secondary for sure. But again, the defense as a whole, because I haven't seen much of a formidable pass rush from that defensive line, and I don't know how long. There was a slight glimpse of it against Washington, but then it went away. So, not much you can say about that.
Now, here's an interesting number. The Texans have only scored 16.7 points per game, but they've allowed 22.0 points per game this season. So it's quite it's quite an advantage for the Lions, except again their lack of defense as a whole, like you mentioned. I just think we would look forward for the Texans to take advantage offensively, and they may just beat the Lions because of that.
It's possible. It is possible. I mean, this is a battle of a weak defense against a weak offense, but I would like to think, as weak as Detroit's defense may be, they could get a Haloti Ngata back, which could help on their front lines of just stopping the run, which would again open up lanes for guys like Devin Taylor and Ziggy Ansah to get through on the pass rush on pass situations. Plus, let's not forget Brock Osweiler was I think it's safe to say, was severely overpaid by the Houston Texans. Yeah, he did a good job leading the Broncos while Peyton Manning was out, but let's not forget how nasty that Denver defense is. And it was clearly evident, as showcased on the Monday Night Football game this past week. So, I would consider that as more of a favor towards Detroit. But if you let Brock Osweiler go for 300 yards against you, oh God, forget about it. But in terms of my keys for how this game can and should go for Detroit, it's one third down play. It's plagued them in recent weeks, but it really should rear its head against Washington, where the Redskins converted on 9 of 15 third down conversions. In terms of how it ranks among the other teams in the league, the Detroit Lions have it has them listed. They've given up 44 out of 86 third down conversions, which clips that at a percentage rate of 51.2%. So that means over half the time that Detroit's defense is out there, they cannot find a way to get a stop on third down to get the hell off the field. And it should be noted that no other team in the entire NFL has that much of a third down conversion defensive percentage rate higher than Detroit. The next closest team that's behind them, the winless Cleveland Browns at 47.2. So exactly by 4 percentage points. Not good company to say the least. So Detroit, they've got to do better on third down. Get off the field with your defense. Have better production with your offense, of course. Avoid putting your defense back on the field. Another key, give it and take it. This is a Detroit defense early in the year, not really known for its takeaway abilities. It's only showed itself in the 3-game homestand. Will it be Darius Slay, who's now out with injury, or last week with Tavon Austin, who covered the fumble in the end zone. And by the way, in terms of his play, I guess Philly set up the Slay fumble force. So Detroit, their defense, they've had, I believe, forced at least 5 turnovers in the last 3 games. They're going to need more of that to help them. Now, it should be, like I said, Brock Osweiler, not that very good, so you could have a chance to have yourself at least 1 or 2 more turnovers, takeaways in this game. On that same coin, different side. Matthew Stafford wants to continue this good of a season that he has. He can make some decisions. He hasn't made that many, as evidenced by his only 4 interceptions of this year. And you can make an argument that 1 or 2 of them shouldn't really count against them. One of which, his tight end Eric Ebron got completely dominated on a ball situation by a small quarterback, and the other one, his wide receivers literally running the wrong routes. So if you want to go that route, Matthew Stafford has only 2 true bad interceptions, literally on his resume this whole entire year. So that's pretty damn good. They're going to have to keep up more of that as they go along in this game. And third and final key, and again, it relates back to Stafford. It is his reliance. His reliance on him, staff reliance. How far can Matthew Stafford continue to go, essentially putting this team on his back, knowing the changes? Now, I think he's going to get a little bit more help back. He's going to get at least Dwayne Washington back, maybe Theo Riddick, we don't know. There's at least one help in terms of getting some of his offense back. Still has an interchangeable offensive line to deal with that is not quite good at pass protection. Still gave up 3 sacks last week. So he still has that to go for. But he's got his receivers. He's got Anquan Bolden. He may be getting Eric Ebron back. As long as they just hang on to the damn ball and, in the words of Mike Valenti, make plays, they should be good. And Stafford should be good here.
Yeah, I want to touch on the Lions' secondary defense. They are the defensive unit that has given up first downs on third down conversions by the Redskins last week. And not only the Redskins, but the Rams and the Eagles as well.
And the Eagles, yeah.
That's one thing.
Not to mention in the game in Green Bay against the Packers, where what the Lions are trying to make that comeback and they're down 31-3, down to 34-27. All they needed was one more defensive stop to get the ball back to their offense. And on a crucial 3rd and 7, they let Aaron Rodgers run free, scramble around, get a first down, and that was the game right then and there. So again, third down defense has played Detroit's defense all year. So obviously I don't expect them to fix it all in this one game, but if there's one thing, if they can get a couple of key crucial stops, big situations, whether it be, force them to a long field goal or put it into a crucial drive that used to make we need to score points, it will really be beneficial in terms to how they will perform long term over the rest of the season in that category.
Yeah, Yeah, and that area just needs to be really cleaned up because their secondary for years has been the Lions' own worst enemy, and it has continued to prove just that this year.
Oh yeah, absolute albatross, which I have been saying for years. Instead of wasting it on these offensive linemen, how about try investing some of these early draft picks into your damn secondary?
Yeah.
Another topic for another day, though.
Mm-hmm. So let's predict who will win. At first, I was thinking if the Lions improved their defense somehow, they would win 21-17. But I think the Texans may have a shot. They do have a shot to take advantage. The Lions' offense, however, just needs to pick it up a little bit. They only put up 20 points against the Redskins of all teams. That's not good. That needs to be revved up a little bit. It's all going to come down to a very, very close result, and it may even go to overtime, for instance. But it's probably going to come down to who the last man standing, I guess. But I believe the Lions will win it on a Matt Prater field goal to win in overtime, 23-20.
Well, knowing what the spread looks like, ESPN currently has the spread listed as Houston -3. Interesting note: Detroit as an underdog this season against the spread, they are a perfect 3-0 as an underdog. That's something to take into consideration here. So I'm going to say similar method. A Matt Prater field goal will be the difference. I don't know if it's going to come at the end of the game again, but I think another strong week, another strong performance by Matthew Stafford. Plus the fact that you're going against a very, very inferior quarterback in Brock Osweiler. Not to mention if you're getting some key players back, not all, but at least a couple back from injury, leads me to believe that this Detroit defense, with a mangled defense and all, they'll find a way to get crucial stops, force a turnover at a crucial point, and they will get the victory. I say Detroit 27, Houston 24.
Okay. All right. Well, it's time for 5 questions. Are you ready?
Sure. Wherever you are, Taylor, so just let him rip. Let him rip, my friend.
Yep.
It's time for 5 questions on the Michigan Sports Truth on Spreaker.
Question number 1, will Michigan get the retribution they need on Michigan State, or will that matchup still be as close as the rivalry is?
Throw out that rivalry game BS out the window. It's going to be Michigan in a rout.
Yeah, no doubt about that one.
Next question.
Question number 2, what will be the greatest factor in that Wolverines-Spartans matchup in East Lansing tomorrow?
Repeat that again, please. I'm sorry.
What will be the greatest factor, question number 2, in that Wolverines-Spartans matchup in East Lansing?
The trenches, what each team's own line does against the other. In Michigan State, can they protect their quarterback and try to establish some form of running game, have it close to the amount of success that they had against Maryland, against this staunch Michigan defense? And for Michigan, can they continue their impressive stretch of at least having a good enough / a very impressive game from their running backs against this Michigan State defense, who seem to shown the fact that they can't tackle or shown that be very good at stopping the run at all. So it's going to come down to which line can oppose their will more against the opposition.
Next question.
Question number 3, will the Chippewas perform better than last week at Toledo?
I say yes. Short answer, but long story. Long story short, I guess. Yeah. It's been a bit of a, like I said, bumpy road roller coaster ride from this year, but I think they'll get their head on straight with this very almost layup certainty win against Penn State.
Next question.
Question number 4, will the Texans offense finally come alive by taking advantage of the Lions' lack of defense, or will the Lions' defense finally wake up and keep Houston in check?
If Houston had a much more competent quarterback, I would say yes for Houston, but because it's Brock Osweiler, I doubt it. So I think you're going to see, a little bit of both in between. I think Houston's going to try their best to run the ball as much as possible, but with Olodinata potentially returning, if he's able to help stuff up the run for Detroit, that could, again, probably stuff out Houston's only reliable shot of making any good offensive production.
Next question.
Finally, question number 5, how does the Lions offense improve after scoring only 20 points against the Redskins this past Sunday?
Well, I think it comes down to Matt Stafford doing his usual thing, his receivers hanging on the passes, and most importantly, the offensive line not getting blown up and keep their down chances, which could lead to sacks and possible pumps to end the drive. So it comes down to what your offensive line can do on third down.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. So for all the listeners and fans out there, if you want to answer those questions, just replay the episode and answer them in the comment bank below this episode. That's going to wrap up episode 236 of the Michigan Sports Truth on Spreaker, the football and the Mitten preview. Ed, thanks so much again for your help. I'll talk to you again on episode 237 when we recap Michigan at Michigan State, the Lions and others, as well as the Wings and Pistons. 6 in a row for the Wings, but we'll break it down on our next episode.
Looking forward to it, Taylor. And by the way, apologies to fans if I sound any type of nasally or tired. I did just come off of less than an hour of sleep from working a late night shift at my job. But other than that, I'm feeling quite fine. But can't wait for the next episode, Taylor. I'll see you then. Go Blue.
All right. So, before we sign off, I want to remind everyone to share this episode and our entire podcast on social media. Have their friends share that as well. And follow me on Spreaker as Taylor Phillips online at Spreaker.com, because I want to tell them that the Michigan Sports Truth podcast here on Spreaker is in search of local advertising sponsors. If anyone has a business that's interested in sponsoring this program, please email me at TaylorGatorPhillips14@yahoo.com or privately message me on Facebook or Twitter. You can also follow Sports Radio Detroit on Twitter at Sports Radio DET, and like their Facebook page and join their Facebook group. Also find their podcasts available on iTunes and Podbean. For Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. If there's anything you fans want more of or less of on our podcast, please let us know. Follow us on Twitter at DT2Phillips and at EdSmith313. Also like our Facebook page, the Michigan Sports Truth on Spreaker, and join our Facebook group. We'll talk to you next week on episode 237, the Weekend Review. TTFN, ta-ta for now.
Bon appétit.